In the heart of the land, nestled between sacred hills and forests of whispering trees, lies a village that seems to breathe with the pulse of the earth. It is a place where the wind carries the voices of the ancestors, and where every action, whether seen or unseen, is judged by spirits who have walked the earth for generations. The villagers speak often of the ancestral watch, a presence that sees all. It is said that no lie goes unnoticed, no crime unpunished. The ancestors do not forget, and their justice is as certain as the rising sun. Among the villagers, Musa is a man who walks with the light of honor. He is the elder brother, a farmer whose hands are worn from years of toil, yet whose heart remains humble. His fields flourish, and his house is full of life. The villagers speak of him with respect, for Musa is a man who never asks more than what is needed. His life is simple, yet it shines with integrity. The elders often say that Musa is blessed by the ancestors, for his success comes not from greed, but from his deep respect for the land and the values of his people. Musa's heart is pure, like the river that cleanses the soul, they say with reverence as he passes by, a man of simple joys and quiet wisdom. But in the shadow of Musa's light there lives another brother, Zain. While Musa walks the path of the righteous, Zain is lost in a storm of envy. He is a man of charm, quick to smile and laugh, but his heart is filled with bitterness. Zain's eyes follow his brother's success with a hunger he cannot satisfy. He cannot understand why his life is not like Musa's, why he cannot hold the same respect or gather the same blessings. So, he hides his jealousy behind a veil of brotherly affection. Musa is the son the ancestors smile upon, Zain tells himself, his voice sweet, but his heart heavy. He calls Musa his brother, but deep inside he seethes with envy. I too deserve greatness, he thinks, even as he smiles at Musa's good fortune. But there is another in Musa's life, a treasure more valuable than any farm, more precious than any gold. Amina, Musa's wife, is the jewel of the family. She is a woman of rare beauty, not just in face, but in spirit. Her wisdom is sought after by the elders, and her kindness is the glue that holds the family together. Amina's laughter is like music to the ears of the village, and her eyes sparkle with the light of understanding. She is a woman who walks in the light of the ancestors, for her heart is as pure as the morning dew. To Zain, Amina is more than just Musa's wife. She is the embodiment of everything he desires but cannot have. He watches her with longing eyes, though he hides his feelings well. Amina does not notice the glances that Zain casts upon her, nor the desire that simmers in his heart. She is devoted to Musa, and her love for him is as deep as the roots of the great baobab tree. In the center of the village, beneath the shade of the mighty baobab, sits the Elder Council. These wise men and women are the guardians of tradition, the interpreters of the ancestors' will. They are the voice of the spirits, and their word is law. When there is discord in the village, the council gathers to resolve the matter, calling upon the wisdom of the ancestors for guidance. The villagers trust the council, for they know that the ancestors speak through these wise elders. We must be careful, for the ancestors are always watching, the eldest elder says, his voice deep and strong. Their justice is swift, and they reward virtue but punish wrongdoing. The village is blessed, but it is also burdened with the presence of the unseen. The ancestors are always there, watching, listening, waiting. They do not show themselves, but their influence is felt in every corner of the village. The rustling of leaves, the flight of birds, the cries of the night, all these are signs, omens that the ancestors send to guide the living. It is said that when something is wrong, the ancestors will stir the winds or send the sun too high in the sky. These signs must never be ignored, for they are the voices of the spirits speaking to the people. The gathering that evening was filled with joy. Musa had invited family and friends to his home for a celebration before his journey to the distant lands of trade. The air was thick with laughter and the scent of roasted meat. But beneath the laughter, there was a tension, a quiet stirring of something darker. Zayn's gaze never left Amina. His eyes followed her every movement, every smile, and his heart twisted with longing. No one noticed the way his fingers gripped his cup, the way his breath became shallow whenever she came near. It was as if the ancestors themselves felt the stirrings of his desire. A wind blew suddenly, strong and cold, extinguishing the fire at the center of the gathering. For a moment, all was still. The villagers paused, their eyes wide, unsure of what had caused the disturbance. The elders exchanged glances, their faces grave. "The ancestors are speaking," one elder muttered under his breath, but no one dared question the moment. The fire flared back to life, and the evening continued as if nothing had happened. Musa stood to address the crowd. His voice was calm, his heart full of peace as he spoke of his journey. "I leave tomorrow for the distant lands. I trust Zayn will care for the house and Amina while I am away." His words rang with innocence, but the weight of his trust in Zayn would soon set the stage for a tragedy. Zayn bowed his head, a smile creeping upon his face, though his heart raged within him. "I will care for them, brother. You have my word." But as Musa spoke, there was a deeper feeling that Zayn could not shake. He stood, watching Musa and Amina in their blissful harmony, and a dark thought began to take root. The jealousy that had been festering in his heart now bloomed like a dangerous flower, and the seeds of betrayal began to sprout. As the evening wore on, the stars above shone brightly, yet the ancestors seemed silent. The wind had stopped, but the feeling of unrest remained, lingering like a shadow. No one noticed, but Zayn's eyes burned with desire. His heart was filled with envy, and his thoughts began to darken. The scene builds slowly, capturing the tension between Zayn and Musa, highlighting the growing jealousy and unrest. It reflects the essence of African tales, with its focus on family dynamics, the unseen influence of ancestors, and the ominous signs that foreshadow betrayal. The moral lessons about the destructive nature of envy and the power of ancestral justice are woven into the narrative, preparing the ground for the unfolding drama. Script. With Musa gone, Zayn seized the opportunity like a predator circling its prey. He had always been the brother who wore a mask of affection, but now, with Musa's absence, he showed an uncharacteristic kindness toward Amina. Day after day, he would arrive at her doorstep, offering to fetch water or help in the fields. "Amina, my sister-in-law, the earth does not rest for even a moment," he would say, smiling his easy smile. "Let me carry some of your burden while your husband is away." At first, Amina hesitated, her heart loyal to her husband. She saw Zayn's actions as nothing more than the dutiful gestures of a brother. But as the days stretched into weeks, Zayn's persistence wore her down. He was always there, a comforting presence when she needed help, his voice smooth and gentle as he spoke of their shared history. "Musa is wise to leave you in my hands," Zayn would say, his words thick with hidden meaning. "I will care for you, as any good brother would." With each passing day, Amina began to notice the subtle shift in Zayn's words, the way his gaze lingered a little longer than before. "You are too kind, Zayn," she would say, her heart growing heavy, yet unable to dismiss the warmth he offered. But the seeds of manipulation had already been planted, and Amina, though unaware, was beginning to feel the stirrings of something unsettling inside her. Zayn's flattery grew more frequent, and the more he praised her, the more Amina felt a strange longing, a loneliness she had not recognized before. "You are more beautiful than the moonlight that dances over the river, Amina. Surely no one else sees you as I do." His words were like honey, and they seeped into the cracks of her guarded heart. She had always thought of herself as strong, a woman of virtue, but now she found herself questioning her own worth. Every time Zane spoke, her heart fluttered in ways she couldn't explain. Was it kindness? Or was it something deeper, something that hinted at a feeling she should not have? She tried to shake the thoughts away, but they clung to her like the evening mist. "I am married," she would remind herself, but the doubts remained. Was it possible that she had missed something in Zane? Had Musa's absence awakened something she hadn't realized existed? Each time Zane left, he took with him a piece of Amina's peace. "I will be here for you, Amina. Trust me," he would whisper, as though every word was a thread pulling her further into a web of confusion. And so, her resolve weakened. She was caught between the love she had for Musa and the strange attraction she felt for Zane. The conflict inside her grew stronger, a battle between her sense of duty and the whisperings of vulnerability that Zane stirred within her. The villagers had begun to notice Zane's frequent visits to Musa's house. They spoke in hushed tones, their gossip carried on the winds, but their eyes remained on Amina. "The woman is too beautiful to be left alone for long," one woman whispered. "Perhaps her husband has trusted the wrong brother." Despite the whispers, the elders said nothing. Amina was loved by all, her reputation as pure as gold. Still, there were those who kept a watchful eye on Zane, suspicious of the frequent moments he spent alone with his brother's wife. In the marketplace, when they crossed paths, Amina's smile would flicker just a moment too long, and Zane would laugh a little too loudly. The elders knew the signs, but they said nothing yet. The village had its own way of letting things unfold, for they knew that the ancestors would not let a wrong go unpunished. But even as the village spoke in hushed tones, the true signs of impending doom came from the fields. Musa's crops, once abundant and green, began to wither. His cattle, strong and healthy, fell ill without explanation. The village shaman, an old woman who spoke with the spirits, saw these signs clearly. "The ancestors are displeased," she said one evening, her voice filled with sorrow. "The earth speaks of betrayal." The elders gathered in the quiet of the night, their faces grave as they pondered the cause. "The ancestors do not act without reason. This is a warning," the chief elder said, his voice low, almost fearful. "We must be vigilant. If the spirit of this family has been disturbed, the ancestors will show us the way." But the signs continued to grow darker. The livestock continued to fall sick, and the crops in Musa's fields withered as though a curse had been placed upon them. "Musa is a good man," one elder remarked. "It is not the man, but the spirit of his household that has been tainted." They agreed that something had gone terribly wrong, but none of them could say what. As the days passed, the tension in the village grew. The winds whispered of things unseen, and even the youngest child could feel the change in the air. The ancestors were stirring, restless, and their anger was beginning to echo in the world of the living. Zoen's desire, once carefully hidden, now threatened to overtake him. The more he saw Amina, the more he wanted her. His patience was gone. In the dark of night, his desire led him to her side, and with it, he cast away all semblance of honor. The moment was not one of passion, but one of desperation. "Amina, we have waited too long. This bond between us is stronger than anything, stronger than the past, stronger than Musa." In that moment, the act was done. Zane and Amina crossed, a line that could never be undone, and the balance of the ancestors' world was shattered. The air seemed to grow still, as though the earth itself held its breath. No one could have known what would come next, but in the hearts of the villagers, there was a growing unease. The ancestors had seen the betrayal, and soon they would exact their justice. That night, Amina tossed and turned in her bed, restless as dreams of shadows and eyes that watched her tormented her sleep. The ancestors were not pleased, and their wrath was swift. She saw visions, dark figures moving through the night, whispering her name, their voices like a thunderstorm in her mind. "You have broken the bond of family. You have betrayed the one who trusted you." The nightmares were vivid, terrifying, and every time she woke she felt the weight of her guilt pressing upon her. "I did not want this. I did not choose this," she would whisper. But the dreams continued, relentless and unyielding. Yet Zane, ever the skeptic, dismissed her fears as superstition. "The ancestors cannot touch us," he assured her, his voice cold and dismissive. "What is done is done. There is no going back." But Amina knew, deep in her heart, that something terrible had been set in motion. The earth had been disturbed, the spirits were not silent, and soon the world would see the price of their betrayal. The script progresses with mounting tension, capturing the complexities of family, betrayal, and the wrath of ancestral justice. The characters' inner struggles are explored, particularly Amina's emotional conflict and Zane's manipulation, culminating in the unsettling consequences of their actions. The influence of the ancestors is woven throughout, setting the stage for the unfolding drama. The village was once a place of peace, where the songs of the elders blended with the sounds of the river, and the land was blessed with abundance. But now, under the heavy shadow of betrayal, whispers began to stir. The air seemed thick with tension as the villagers gathered in small groups, their words heavy with suspicion. The peaceful hum of daily life was now drowned by the murmurs of what had transpired between Zane, Amina, and Musa. Under the ancient baobab tree, the elder council assembled, their faces grave with the knowledge of the betrayal that had divided the village. The mighty baobab, whose roots dug deep into the heart of the earth, had witnessed the rise and fall of many families, but never had it felt such dishonor. The villagers gathered around, keeping their distance, knowing that the elders would soon reveal the fate of those who had disrupted the balance of the world. One elder, his face marked with age and wisdom, stood. "The spirits are restless," he said, his voice low. "The harmony of our village has been broken. We must find the truth before the ancestors punish us all." His words hung in the air like a heavy fog, and the villagers knew that a reckoning was near. The sun was beginning to set when Musa entered the gathering, his eyes burning with a mixture of anger and pain. His presence was like the storm before the rain, and the elders knew that this was the moment the village had feared. "Musa, you are home," one elder greeted him, though his voice was strained with apprehension. "I have returned," Musa said, his voice cold and filled with betrayal. "And I have come to hear the truth, for I have been wronged in my own house." Musa turned toward Zane and Amina, who stood at the far end of the gathering, their heads lowered in shame. "Zane!" Musa called, his voice cracking with the weight of his sorrow. "How could you? You were my brother. Amina, you were my wife, my heart. How could you betray me in this way?" Amina, her heart breaking under the weight of her guilt, collapsed to her knees, her sobs echoing through the silence. "Musa, I am so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." Her voice was a choked whisper, but it was enough to make the elders stir with unease. Zane, his face flushed with anger, stepped forward, his fists clenched. "Musa," he sneered, "you were always the favored one. You were the strong one, the chosen one. All your life you have made me feel like nothing, while I slaved for our family. You think I betrayed you, but it was you who cast me aside." The elders exchanged glances, their expressions troubled. "Zane, your words are like the winds of a storm," one elder said softly. "You speak of favor, but you forget the balance of our world. You have taken what was never yours to claim." But Zane's anger was relentless. "The spirits have no power over me," he shouted. "This is my destiny, and I will not be judged by anyone." Amina, trembling, could only weep as the weight of her actions became clear. The village had witnessed their shame, and no words could undo the damage done. In the stillness that followed, the elders knew that the time had come to seek the wisdom of the spirits. They called for the village shaman, a woman revered for her deep connection with the ancestors. Her eyes, like the eyes of the moon, held the ancient knowledge of the earth and the heavens. As the shaman entered, the villagers fell silent, for they knew that the truth lay within her hands. "The ancestors speak through me," she said, her voice steady as the wind. "Their anger is great and their judgment swift. We must seek their guidance." With that, the shaman led the village to the sacred clearing beneath the baobab tree, where the night air was thick with incense and the rhythmic beating of drums. The villagers gathered in a circle, offering grain, livestock, and precious items to the spirits. The shaman chanted in a language older than the earth, invoking the ancestors' presence with words that seemed to echo through the very soil beneath their feet. The drums echoed louder as the ritual deepened, and the air grew heavy, charged with the power of the unseen. The shaman's voice rose, carrying the weight of a prophecy long foretold. "Ancestors, hear our cries. The balance of our world has been disturbed. We seek your guidance, your justice. Show us the way." For a long moment there was silence. Then the shaman's voice trembled as she received the vision. "The ancestors have spoken," she whispered. "The dishonor cannot be undone, and the spirits demand a price. Blood must be spilled to restore the balance. Only through sacrifice can peace return to this village." The villagers stood frozen, fear rippling through them. "Who will pay the price?" one elder asked, his voice barely a whisper. "The spirits have made their choice," the shaman answered gravely. "The balance will be restored, but the cost is great." The winds picked up as if in agreement with the shaman's words. Dark clouds rolled in from the horizon, and thunder rumbled in the distance. The village was soon plunged into chaos as the storm unleashed its fury. Trees were uprooted, rivers swelled, and the once fertile land seemed to tremble under the wrath of the ancestors. The heavens themselves wept, as if mourning the dishonor that had befallen the earth. "The ancestors are angry," an elder murmured, watching the storm with fear in his eyes. "We must make amends before we are all consumed by their fury." As the storm raged, Zane's world began to crumble. His once vibrant body grew weak, his skin sallow and drawn. The animals in his care began to die without explanation, their bodies stiffening in the fields. His house, once sturdy and proud, was struck by a bolt of lightning and collapsed to the ground. His friends, who had once admired him, began to turn their backs, whispering that he was cursed. "I did nothing wrong," Zane muttered to himself, his voice hollow as he looked at the wreckage around him. "Why is this happening to me?" But even as he spoke, the land around him seemed to recoil from his presence, and he knew deep down that the ancestors had claimed their price. Amina, too, could not escape the weight of her guilt. As the storm raged on, she withdrew from the village, unable to bear the judgment in the eyes of her people. She spent her days alone, seeking redemption through prayer and fasting. Her heart was heavy with the knowledge that she had torn her family apart. "What have I done?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "I have betrayed the one who loved me." In the silence of the night, the ancestors spoke to her in her dreams. "You cannot hide from the truth," they whispered, their voices like a wind through the trees. "You must face what you have done, and only then will peace be restored." The village elders gathered once again, torn between mercy and justice. They debated long into the night, knowing that the choice before them would shape the future of their people. Do we deliver the punishment the ancestors demand? One elder asked, his voice weary, or do we show mercy to those who have wronged us? The chief elder, his face etched with sorrow, spoke softly. The ancestors are not to be disobeyed, but mercy is a gift we must give, for it is through mercy that the village will heal. As the night grew darker, the elders knew that the final decision was near. The ancestors' judgment loomed over them, and their fate would soon be sealed. The village prepared for what was to come, knowing that only through submission to the spirits could balance be restored. The price had been paid, and now they must wait to see what the ancestors would decree. "The spirits are watching," the shaman reminded them. "Their judgment is swift, and only through truth can we find peace." The storm raged on, and the village held its breath, waiting for the final judgment to come. Zane walked slowly toward the sacred hut where the shaman waited. His steps were heavy, each one dragging him deeper into the weight of his guilt. The village, still shaken from the storm, seemed to hold its breath as he approached. He had heard the whispers of the villagers. Some said he was cursed, others that he would never find peace. But Zane knew the truth in his heart. Peace could only be found in the shaman's words. When he entered the hut, the air was thick with the scent of burning herbs. The shaman, her face shrouded in shadow, sat before a fire. Her eyes, as ancient as the earth itself, stared into his soul. "Shaman," Zane began, his voice trembling, "I seek forgiveness for the wrongs I have done, for the pain I have caused. The ancestors have cursed me, and I cannot bear it. Please, tell me what I must do to make things right." The shaman raised her head, her expression unreadable. "The ancestors do not speak in the way you seek," she said slowly. "They have made their will clear. A life for a life, Zane. To restore balance, you must offer what you have taken." Zane's heart sank. "But I do not want to die. I have been foolish, yes, but surely there is another way. A way to make amends without death." The shaman's gaze hardened. "The balance has been shattered. You have taken from your brother, your family, and your people. The ancestors demand that you offer your life, or the land will suffer forevermore." She paused, allowing her words to settle in the space between them. "This is the price for what you have done. Only then will the storm pass, and peace return to your people." Zane collapsed to his knees, tears welling in his eyes. "I have nothing left. I will do whatever it takes to make this right." Amina stood at the edge of the clearing, watching Zane with a heart full of sorrow. She had never imagined her actions would lead them here. Her love for Zane had been born from jealousy, and now that very jealousy had torn apart everything they had once known. As the wind whispered through the trees, she knew what must be done. She approached the shaman with trembling hands, her heart heavy with remorse. "Shaman," she began softly, "I have wronged them both, my husband, my brother, and my village. It was my jealousy that led Zane down this path. I cannot bear to see him die for something I caused." The shaman's eyes softened, but only for a moment. "Amina, the ancestors have spoken. Zane must sacrifice his life. It is the only way." Amina fell to her knees, her voice breaking as she pleaded. "Please, shaman, let me take his place. I am the one who led him astray. I am the one who should pay for the dishonor." The shaman looked down at her with a gaze as old as time. "The price has been set, child. You cannot change it. The balance must be restored as the ancestors demanded. But know this, your soul will find peace, for your sacrifice is true." Amina sobbed, the weight of her guilt nearly crushing her. She could not bear the thought of Zane dying for her mistake. She had loved him, and now her love had brought them to this dark place. As the final ritual approached, the village was heavy with anticipation. The sky, still dark and swollen with the remnants of the storm, seemed to hold its breath. The once peaceful village, now tense with uncertainty, waited for the final judgment. The elders gathered beneath the baobab tree, their faces lined with concern, while the rest of the villagers stayed in their homes, unsure of what the coming night would bring. The air was thick with the weight of the decision. Each breath seemed to draw the villagers closer to the inevitable conclusion, the sacrifice of one, the restoration of balance. No one spoke, for the ancestors' will was clear, and yet Zane could not bring himself to accept it. As the drums began their mournful beat, he stood before the elders, his voice firm and full of resolve. "I will not run from this. I am the one who caused this, and I will face the consequences. If the ancestors demand my life, then it is my duty to offer it." The villagers gasped in shock, but Zane's heart was steadfast. He had caused this devastation, and now he would make things right. "I will die, but I will not be the coward who hides. I will take responsibility for my actions." Amina stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears. "No, Zane, I cannot bear it. I will give my life for you. I am the one who led us here. Let me be the one to make the sacrifice." But Zane shook his head, his voice filled with a quiet strength. "You have already paid, Amina. It is me who must answer for my wrongs." The village was silent, as if holding its breath. Zane had chosen redemption. He had chosen responsibility over escape, and in that moment he understood the true meaning of sacrifice. The night was dark, the air thick with the tension of the ritual. As Zane approached the sacred altar, the villagers gathered around, their eyes filled with awe and sorrow. The shaman stood before him, her hands raised to the sky. The drums had ceased, and there was a heavy silence, broken only by the crackling of the fire. Zane knelt before the altar, his heart pounding. "Ancestors, I offer my life to restore the balance I have broken. May my death bring peace to my family, to my village, and to my soul." With a final, steady breath, Zane closed his eyes and made the ultimate sacrifice. As his blood touched the earth, the sky seemed to shift. The storm clouds that had been gathering for days slowly began to part, and the winds calmed. The ancestors had spoken, and the balance was restored. As the dawn broke, a brilliant rainbow arced across the sky, its colors vivid and vibrant against the clear blue. The villagers stood in awe, knowing that the ancestors had accepted Zane's sacrifice. Peace had returned to the land, and the storm that had raged for so long had finally passed. The shaman, her face soft with approval, turned to the village. "The ancestors have forgiven. The balance is restored, and peace has returned to the land." Amina, still in mourning, watched the rainbow and knew that Zane's sacrifice had been true. "He has given everything for us. I will carry his memory in my heart, and I will never forget the lessons he has taught me." Amina's heart was heavy with the loss of Zane, but in his sacrifice, she found her own path to redemption. She vowed to dedicate her life to serving the village, teaching the young ones the value of loyalty, integrity, and the dangers of jealousy. Her days were filled with work, and in each lesson she taught, she found a small measure of peace. "I will be the guardian of the village's heart," she promised herself, her voice firm with resolve. "I will honor Zane's memory and the sacrifice he made for us all." Musa, too, found peace. He had watched his family suffer, but he had witnessed the justice of the ancestors. He understood now that the pain of betrayal had been cleansed through sacrifice. "I forgive you, Amina," he whispered one quiet evening. "The ancestors have shown us the way." And so, the village healed. The cycle of justice and forgiveness had been completed, and peace returned to the land. The storyteller, his voice carrying the weight of generations, spoke softly to those gathered around the fire. "Remember this, my children. Betrayal may weaken the soul, but through sacrifice, the balance can be restored. The ancestors walk with us, always, guiding us toward redemption."